Hey everybody, this is Pat Jennings again from thebizseller.com, talking to you about the 10 things you need to know today if you want to sell your business tomorrow. The fundamental truths about selling your small business that no one is talking about. This is a free book that you can download at thebizseller.com, and we're going to go through the 10 things that you need to know, each in their own detailed video, but this video is just an overview of the 10 things that you need to know if you want to sell your small business. And I have an asterisk next to small business because in this series, when we talk about small businesses, we're not talking generally about small businesses or all small businesses, but specifically about what we call a 120 business, which refers to the fact that most of these businesses do under $1 million in sales, although that's not a hard and fast rule. Most of these businesses will have under 20 full-time employees. Again, especially restaurants with a lot of part-time employees might have more. But most of the businesses we're going to be talking about, the things we're talking about apply to businesses in this price range, this size range. But what really defines the businesses we're talking about here and the owners to whom I'm talking to are that these are owner-operated businesses that serve a local area. And specifically, we're talking about when you want to go and sell that size business. Businesses of this size and this description, being owner-operated, are really their own category. In our media, we refer to small businesses, when we refer to small businesses, whether it's a business person or a media person or a politician, they might be thinking of $1 million business, a $5 million business, a $20 million business. Anything can be called a small business. This category of business, particularly when it comes to selling the business, is different than businesses that are in the $5, $10, $20 million category of small business. These 120 businesses are valued by buyers in a way that's different from other businesses. The type of prospect, the person that these businesses attract are different. The competition is at a much higher level because there are so many of these businesses out there and there aren't that many people who are qualified to buy them. And because of their size, the way the financing works is different. So when we see a lot out there in the media and we see a lot of references to small businesses, that's a generality. We're talking specifically here about smaller owner-operated businesses that serve a local area. Most of them are going to be under $1 million in sales. Most of them are going to be under 20 employees. So I just wanted to run through real quickly the 10 different things that you need to know. And at the end, if you'd like, you could download the book or just tune in for future videos where we're going to go into each of the 10 things you need to know in great detail. But the first thing you need to know is that it's hard to sell a business, particularly smaller businesses. The smaller it gets, the harder it is to sell. We love to obsess in the media, and the coverage of small business is focused more on startups than on anything else. And one of the most popular topics that you see covered is the failure rates of new businesses. There's a lot of statistics out there about how 4 out of 5 businesses fail in the first 5 years. And when you look into it, really, the failure rate for new businesses isn't that bad. But the failure rate for small business owners when they go to sell is about 80%, and that never gets talked about. So the first thing is you need to know about the reality of selling a small business, and that's the kind of thing that's not going to be covered typically accurately in our media. The next thing is, thing number 2 is business valuation is a misleading term. It's a much more helpful mindset if you think about pricing your business as opposed to some esoteric, theoretical, complicated business valuation. When you put your business on the market, it's just like any other product that is for sale. The law of supply and demand still applies. And so while, yes, you want to do business valuation calculations to get a general price range that you believe the business should realistically be within, the value or the price of the business can't be calculated. You have to put it out on the market and let the market respond. And you have to respond to the feedback you get from the market and go from there just like with any other product or service. So the second thing you need to know is that business valuation is the beginning of the pricing process. It's not the end-all, be-all. Your business isn't worth X number of dollars because you calculated that it is. And along those same lines, the third thing, this cliche that I see more and more all the time now, business valuation is more art than science. Put that idea out of your head. That's a very harmful attitude to take. It's going to lead to frustration and disappointment. When you put your business on the market, there is, and again, I'm talking about the 120 business, the owner-operated smaller business. When you go to sell that business, you're going to sell it most likely to another owner-operator. And there is going to be an unrelenting logic behind what somebody can pay for your business. And this logic is, these factors are permanent. They're unavoidable. It's like the sunset or the tides rolling in and out. So in the third chapter, we go into the realities of how a business is valued, and it's got very little to do with art, and it's got a lot to do with logic. Number 4 is the size of a business has a direct and significant impact on the price that that business can be sold for. And that's one of the things, that's why the 120 category is, I'm harping on that again and again and again, because what we call small businesses in this society could mean $1 million business, a $50,000 business, or a $50 million business. At different times, some people will call that a small business. But businesses of different size get different valuations because of their size. And so number 4 is we need to understand how the size of the business affects the valuation. And the valuations differ greatly when you go from $1 million to $5 million to $10 million in revenue. Next, or following on that, number 5, the size of the business attracts a certain type of buyer, and that type of buyer really is ultimately what's going to determine the price range that your business can be in. If you're a $5, $10 million business, it's likely you're going to be pursued by a $50 million, $100 million, a $200 million business. And if they buy your $10 million business, when they're done, your business is going to be different. It's not going to have more abilities. It's going to have more resources. And so your business is going to change when this bigger company comes in and buys you out. And so now you're going to be worth, that business that you've had is going to be worth a lot more than it was. With an owner-operated business, the new owner runs the same race that the old owner did. They sell the same products to the exact same market for about the same price, the same economic conditions, in the same location. And so, as opposed to what the business will become once it's bought, to value it, you have to look at its history. Going forward, the business is going to be very much like it's been. Therefore, to determine what it's worth, we've got to look at the history, the last 2, 3, 5 years of earnings. So size attracts different buyers, and they get valued differently depending on their size. Number 6 is we've got to have a definition, we got to have a category for each size of business, because small means nothing, and the media has no idea about the things that I've just talked about here. Most people in the media who cover small business are generalists, and today they might write about social media, and tomorrow they might write about publicity, and then the next day they're going to write about what you should do to sell your business, as if they know. But the bottom line is, in our media and in our culture in general, when you hear small business, they're probably not talking about you if you're an owner-operator. They're talking about much bigger businesses. And in chapter 6 of the book, and in the 6th video, we're going to go into detail about that so that you can recognize whether the advice you're reading applies to you or not. And chances are it will not. Number 7, you can ignore all the hype about the baby boomers all retiring at the same time and driving the price of your business down. This is really harmful hype. I think a lot of it's generated by people who make their living being brokers and M&A advisors. And I use the word here tsunami because that is the favorite word in the past couple of years that all the people in the media are hearing and then repeating. There's going to be a tsunami of baby boomers selling their businesses at the same time. First of all, the baby boom generation has lasted 18 years, right? The youngest baby boomers are 50. So they're in a different life stage than the 68-year-old baby boomer. They're not all going to sell their business at the same time. In fact, according to the International Business Brokers Association, in 2014, the biggest group of business buyers were people aged 50 to 59. That's half the baby boom. The young half of the baby boom generation is in a buying mode. So you can ignore the hype about how you better sell your business now because there's going to be a tsunami of baby boomers all selling the business in the next couple of years, and your business isn't going to be worth anything. And we're going to go into why you can ignore that stupid advice. Number 8, you can't confuse building your business with preparing to sell your business. You can't drastically change the business in the months leading up to the sale and expect to get paid for that. And you'll see this advice a lot. You want to sell your business? Well, you got to increase sales and cut costs. And my favorite is you got to remove yourself from the daily operation of the business. That makes sense if you're a $50 million small business. But if you're a $500,000 small business or a $200,000 small business and you're an owner-operator, you can't, by definition, remove yourself from the business. So there's a difference between building a business and increasing sales and cutting costs and preparing to sell that business, which would be writing your selling memorandum, recasting your financial statements. There are specific things you do to prepare the business once you've decided to sell. But if you want to sell in the next 6 months to a year, you can't go on a new marketing campaign and introduce new products. You're not going to have a track record. So people aren't going to trust whatever results you get. So number 8 is you got to separate building the business from preparing to sell the business. Number 9, and this was in that first slide that I showed you about the difference between the 120s and all the other businesses. When you're a small owner-operated business, the level of competition that you have to deal with when dealing with buyers is way different than much bigger businesses. Most small businesses are in this size category, so there's a lot more of them for sale. And the other thing is, you have this unique competitor in franchises. If you're a local service business, a restaurant business, a house cleaning business, basically any kind of small business that serves a local community, there are big billion-dollar companies that are in that business, and instead of buying up existing businesses, they expand by getting people to buy franchises or locations, which are typically the same exact kind of buyer you're looking for. So to understand the market for your business, you got to understand the competition. And so in number 9, we're going to go into who you're competing with. And number 10 is you can't think about finding a buyer. You have to develop a pool of prospects. Most people who inquire through an ad or go to a broker and they're interested in buying a business, 90% of them never buy anything. And the ones who are qualified have a lot of options. They can buy a business, they can start a business, they can buy a franchise, they can do nothing. If they have a good job, they always have the option to do nothing. So you can't put out there that idea that there's this perfect candidate and you're going to wait to find them, or you only need one of them. You need a pool of prospects because you can never tell which of your prospects is actually going to buy. If you have 2 good, solid, qualified, motivated prospects, I suggest you go find a 3rd, a 4th, and a 5th if possible, because you never know what those 1 or 2 are going to do. And we'll go into detail about how to do that in number 10. So those are the 10 things you need to know today if you want to sell your business tomorrow. And really, this is not a how-to series. This is not a how-to book. It's more about bigger conceptual ideas that will help you to understand the process and understand the market and understand why people are offering you what they are for your business, or why so far you haven't found a buyer. So we're going to go into that one video for each of these 10 things, but if you'd like, you can download the book now. There's a link at the top of the description section below, and it's completely free. It's so free, we don't even ask for your email address. So for now, you can download the book, but I will see you in our next video.